So it's a pleasure being with you. And I'm very interested in, as a businessman, sometimes, well, often every relationship you get into as a business person, you've got to vet to make sure that this aligns with the things that are important to you. So when you think about doing things for underserved communities, what speaks to you with regards to the initiatives you get involved with?
I think for me, having a connection to the people in those communities, never separating myself, never walking around with security where people feel like they can't approach me. I'm always in the communities. I'm always in the hood. I'm always in the cities. And I continue to listen to the people. If you want to walk up to me and have a conversation with me, I'm all ears. I'm welcoming people with open arms, so I feel like that's always been the best way to be able to impact your communities is to really listen directly to what the people are saying they need and what they're dealing with. Oftentimes, the media can pick and choose what they want to bring to us. The news can pick and choose what they want to tell you about. But if you go in these communities and you spend time with these people and you just are there, you'll get the gist of it and you'll get the real and you'll understand really what they're dealing with every day. That was the reason why, the Udonis Haslem Foundation immediately got into the housing situation where we were understanding the huge gap of, okay, you need about 110,000 to live comfortably in South Florida, but on average, people only making 60 to 70. Okay, that's about a $40,000-$50,000 gap where how can people live comfortably? Now we're talking about getting into the fight and we have two affordable housing projects. Now you look around and you see Wells Fargo, the bank of doing, and you understand, what their initiative is, what their goals are. And then you say, okay, well, maybe we can collaborate, maybe we can do this together. One thing I know about building a championship team and a championship roster is it takes collaboration of people with the same like mindset and with the same goals. And I think Wells Fargo had that goal. The Udonis Haslem Foundation had that goal. Wells Fargo, the Bank of Doing. Udonis Haslem has been a doer his whole life, his whole career. Has never been scared to get his hands dirty. Has never been scared to get out there and get in the mud. And when I wake up this morning and when I pull up to Miss Mabel house, I see people who are usually sitting in the office behind the air condition, working at tellers, and now they're playing crop. They're lifting, microwaves. They're lifting ovens. They're lifting stoves. They're putting grills outside. And I know everybody's saying, okay, it's about wintertime. We barbecue on Christmas down here in Miami. We can put a grill out anytime. That's one of the places we can do this anywhere. So when you talk about that, man, it was just, it was just a match made in heaven. I was thankful to be the person that, Wells Fargo reached out to and chose to be a part of this. Because it's everything I represent. I've made sure that throughout my 20-year career, although I've represented the Miami Heat, I've also represented the community and the people of Miami.
So when you think about the myriad of opportunities you could have done, like you could put your name on a lot of social issues, social efforts. Why was housing so important to you? What spoke to you about the housing initiative?
Because it's not what I need; it's what the people need. And I think that's what people need. I think, there's so many different situations that people are being challenged with in underserved communities. But when you go in your house, we understand what's going on outside your house. But when you go in your house, you should feel safe. You should feel comfortable. You should be happy. You should be confident in that space. You should be fulfilled. That should be your mental recharge place. And that's where you can go and just be proud of everything and all the work that you put into every single day. And a lot of times it's hard to feel like that when you don't see those results. It's hard to feel like that when you walk into your home and you don't feel safe. It's hard to feel like that when you walk into, your yard and your gates torn down. It's hard to feel like that when you walk in your backyard and, there's grass and stuff everywhere and you don't have a grill to barbecue, or you don't have a garden where you can just walk out there and on a sunny day and just sit out by your garden and read the paper. You don't have those things. I think if you can have those things and you can implement those things in everyday life gets a little better for you. Everyday things get a little easier for you. And now you're talking about having a little bit of situation where you can be comfortable and you can be proud of the place you call home. We just want these people to be proud of the place they call home. We want these people to feel safe in the place they call home. We want these people to be comfortable in these places they call home. And I think everybody deserves that.
When you think about, so actually right now, the top story on afrotech.com is a story about you. So it's talking about how you stayed on the Miami Heat, based on your efforts as a leader and even LeBron and Chris Bosh and Dwayne, making room. And so making sure that somebody with your leadership and experience was still in the locker room. And there's a quote I found from you where you said, when you look at all these undrafted guys, these guys who were on their way out of the league and people didn't believe in them and people didn't give them the opportunity, the Heat culture saved them. That's why I came back, because I watched the culture save so many like it saved me. When you think about that Heat culture, you see undrafted players, people who were overlooked, and sometimes they don't always take these opportunities seriously. What is it you saw as somebody who was on the tail end of his career as your ability to galvanize those folks behind a culture and a mission to be able to go out there and create championship opportunities?
I mean, I got to give credit to those guys. You know, when those guys walk in that locker room and you can see the sense of desperation, I relate. I relate to walking in a locker room with 50 people and they only keeping one guy. You got to be that one guy that they keep. I can relate. I can relate to not having a backup plan. I can relate to, you know, having your back against the wall, you know, and coming in every day, you know, feeling like your life is on the line and like your career depends on it. So I'm relatable to all these guys, just like I'm relatable to Miss Mabel. You know, Miss Mabel was on 153rd and my auntie stay on 183rd. You know what I'm saying? Which is 30 streets over. You know what I mean? I literally showed up to Miss Mabel's house about 40 minutes early, and I went around the corner and stayed at my auntie's house and came back to Miss Mabel's house. So I'm relatable to these people. You know what I mean? I'm really relatable, and I know that I've been blessed to play the game of basketball. I've had a tremendous amount of success, but I'm really relatable to these people. And you know, when I talk about, you know, LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, and you know, being a part of that process, that's one thing that I was able to understand, is that even though we were friends, you know, you respect people for who they are and what they are. You know what I mean? And you know, LeBron, Dwayne, they already respected me for who I was and what I was. They were South Beach guys. I was a Miami guy. You know what I mean? They were on the other side of the bridge. I was on my side of the bridge. You know what I mean? So for me, I never tried to be something I wasn't. I always stayed in my lane, and my lane always brought me back to the people. You know what I mean? And when you talk about why you don't leave to go for more money, and why you didn't have the opportunity to play somewhere else, and when your career was getting towards the end and you weren't getting as much playing time as you might have wanted, it's because of the people of Miami, man. I've never gotten love. I've never been more protected. I've never been more accepted than I am in this city of Miami by these people. When you talk about 20 years in the NBA and so much success, I ain't never had have no security. You ain't never seen me get robbed nowhere. You never see me get in no trouble nowhere out here. You know, these people take care of me, man. So it's my job, it's my duty with my free time to commit to taking care of these people and giving back to them so much that they've given to me.
Yeah, I want to talk more about that. You know, you are today vice president of basketball development at Miami, and so you got a lot of leadership in your background, on the court and off the court. And I want to talk about the off the court leadership. How do you transfer the things that you've learned on the court to be able to be effective off the court?
Man, I'll tell you one thing about heat culture, and it's real because it can apply in all aspects of life. The discipline that it takes to be a part of heat culture, to come in and have your body fat under 10% every year, the discipline that it takes to push yourself to get that extra 1% out of yourself every day. You know, the way we approach the game, you know, I think everything that I've learned in heat culture has been what I've applied in the business space. I think when you retire from basketball, you don't lose your ambition. You don't lose your drive. You just got to find somewhere else to apply it. You just got to find somewhere else to put it. So being in that 1% of people that are obsessed with winning, being in that 1% of people that will do whatever it takes to get the job done, being in that 1% of people that are willing to sacrifice the things that they need to sacrifice for the betterment of the team. You know, we talk about enjoying other people's success with the Miami Heat. That's one thing that's non-negotiable. You have to be able to enjoy other people's success. But how many times do you see people sit at home and they watch somebody achieve something and say, that should have been me? Why didn't that happen for me? That's never been a part of who I am. That's never been a part of my DNA, man. My thing is, if he did that, how can I figure out how to apply that in my lifestyle? How can I figure out how to achieve that here in Miami for my people? That's been always the goal, to learn from the people that are doing it before you, to learn from the Magic, to learn from Dwayne, to learn from Shaq. You know, having these relationships with these guys, I'd be a fool just to take basketball stuff from these guys. I have to take life lessons from these guys. I have to take business lessons from these guys. The conversations that I have now with Shaquille O'Neal, Dwayne Wade, were far different than the conversations we had 15 years ago.
You know, too many people in our communities rely on predatory services, check cashing places, payday loans,
Yeah.
you know, places like that. And so, you know, which is super problematic. And so,
Yes.
how important is it for banks like Wells Fargo, lenders like Wells Fargo, to be involved in these neighborhoods and in these communities?
I mean, it's so important because we understand that financial literacy kind of skipped over our people
Yeah.
sometimes, for the most part. Financial literacy has not been taught. And then you talk about teaching people financial literacy, but people that don't have money or didn't come from money. You know what I'm saying? So I think for Wells Fargo being, not only, hands on with this and, putting their money where their mouths is and committing 1.2, 75 different homes, 46 communities, but not also you're building a relationship. And I think what for us in our community, it's always been hard for us to trust people. You know what I'm saying? So when you come in and you make an impact in the community, immediately the people of the community start to trust you. And now they start to listen to you. And now you start to build that relationship, so on and so forth. So I think Wells Fargo coming in and being a part of this process and taking the lead on this initiative, I think they start to build a relationship with the people. And I think the people start to trust Wells Fargo. So the messages that Wells Fargo are preaching, the people are going to listen now because of the trust and the relationship that they built with these people because they're actually doing things in the community and not talking about it.
Yeah, that's super good. I wonder, how you view home ownership and being able to be in your own place and being able to excel and have a safe place to live. Well, from your perspective, what does that do for the neighborhood?
I mean, I think it does wonders for neighborhoods to pull into a neighborhood where you look around and you say, hey, that guy's owned that house for 20 years and now his son owns it, or that guy owns it. It gives a neighborhood substance. It gives a neighborhood stability. It gives a neighborhood pride. You know what I mean? And I think, homeowner, I'm coming from a situation where, I can say that my parents didn't own until I bought a house for them. When I got old enough, to buy a house for them. I grew up in a family where all we did was rent. We didn't know what it was to own. But I think when you get in a situation where you can own a home, now you're talking about something that you can be proud of, and that's going to be in your family. And when you talk about generational wealth, it might not be considered generational wealth right away, but from where I'm from, if you can get a house in your family, that's generational wealth because that'll go on with your family forever. And not a lot of people have homes in their households, and they can say they have a home that'll be in their family forever. So being the first person to be able to buy a home in my family, that's going to go on in my family forever. And that might not be the world's version of generational wealth, but that was generational wealth for my family because we never owned a home.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, I want to dig into why this is so important to you because I think that is the whole crux of this is, can you talk about your upbringing a little bit and why being able to make this difference for you and the generations behind you matters so much for you guys?
Man, I've seen it all. I've seen it all growing up, and that's why, life is so precious to me. And now when you experience, so much trauma, when you've seen so many L's, all you want to do is win. And all you want to do is help people win. So for me, I've made it my life mission to win no matter what the circumstances and to help people win. Just because of the losses that I've had, because of the trauma that I've had, so many things that have been out of my control. I made it my mission and I made it a point to control the things that I can control. You know what I mean? So I can control the energy that I put out. I can control the effort that I give to this community and to these people. I can control sitting down with the mayors and the commissioners. I can control partnering and collaborating with Wells Fargo and their initiative and being the bank of doing. I can control those things because the things I can't control was, losing my stepmother. The things I can't control is losing my mother. I can't control losing my father. All the people that have raised me, all the people that have sacrificed for me, all the people who I call mom, dad, stepmom, or whatever, they're not here. So those are things that I could not control. So I've literally learned in my life to control the things that you can control, man. And you know, there's so much else. There's so many things that are going to happen that are going to knock you down. I think life is about how can you pivot. I think life is about how can you get up. How can you respond to adversity? Because there's going to be adversity.
Yeah.
So I like to be a testament to that. What you see here to now today, the Udonis Haslem you see now, is someone who just continued to get up and continue to respond to adversity. And that's why you see the polished version that you see now.
For those people who listen to you talk and they have faced rejection, they've been counted out. What advice do you have for people who, their back is against the wall, but they have a vision for their life, but don't know how to get there?
Stay in the saddle, stay in the saddle and don't be afraid to look yourself in the mirror and change things about yourself. The first thing I did when I wasn't drafted and I had to go to Europe was I looked myself in the mirror. Instead of pointing the finger at the NBA teams that said they made a mistake, I said, what can I do first here? How can I change here? What can I change here? How can I hold myself accountable? Once again, today's society, accountability is a foreign language. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to be held accountable. They want to hold other people accountable when it's time for them to be held accountable. Nobody wants to do that. sacrifice. You know, what are you willing to sacrifice to get where you're trying to go? I tell my kids all the time. You know, whatever you want to do in life, you're gonna have to sacrifice. Something's gonna happen, and you don't get to pick and choose what you want to sacrifice. That's not your choice. You know what I'm saying? You never know what you'll have to sacrifice to achieve your goals or to get to your destination. But I tell you one thing: it's not always about the destination; it's about the journey. You know, so for me, it's always been about the journey, and my journey has been filled with challenges, peaks and valleys. But I've always figured out a way to come out on top and to win in the end. I think I've been better for that. I think I'm more confident now because of that. Because anything that comes my way, I feel like I can win. I feel like I can win, and that's what I teach. That's what I teach other people. That's what I preach to people, man. You know, Miss Mabel. You know, the guys that I coach on my team and the young guys, man. Whatever situation you're in, if you have the right mindset, you can come out of it and you can win.
What does it mean to be doing this in Miami, your hometown?
Oh, what is it? That's why I stayed, bro. That's why I stayed, man. I always played the long game. You know what I'm saying? I have so many opportunities to go so many different places, but there's no impact. And this is my gift to myself. You know, I don't get to give myself much. You know what I'm saying? I'm a doer. I'm a giver. I'm a protector. I'm a provider. My gift to myself is to be able to do this here in this city with these people for these people. That's my gift.
Udonis Haslem, thank you so much, my brother.
Appreciate you, Will. Thank you, dog.
Means a lot. Means a lot, man.